Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Shutt and our weather intern Rachel Grant joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. Thanks so much for tuning in. Rachel and I have been tracking those showers and thunderstorms going throughout this evening, and certainly nice, Rachel, to see that severe threat, for the most part, really not coming to fruition.
No, not really. It's all coming down. It's all coming to an end. And we're going to start out tomorrow on a nicer side.
Yeah, looking awfully nice. We're going to be tracking that beautiful stretch of weather. Some of what we're going to be talking about on this edition of Nate at 8. Still tracking some showers lingering, but that severe flooding threat is now coming to an end. And a lot of what we're seeing linger here tonight is more on the lighter side from these showers. And like Rachel touched on, looking nice for tomorrow. It's starting a beautiful stretch of weather as we do look ahead going through the middle of this week. So let's jump into things, and starting off with those temperatures across the area, which currently reside into the 60s now, getting some of those rain-cooled temperatures in spots. And we're looking at where those dew points are. And while, cooler side in the 60s, Rachel, not quite real comfortable 60s.
No, not really. I mean, right now you can kind of argue that, but tomorrow will be much more comfortable. But going into Wednesday and really the rest of this week, it'll pick up and it won't feel as comfortable until the weekend.
Yeah, we'll see. Certainly more of those muggy days returning, but they're nice. At least we get one comfortable day, right?
Yeah.
At least we get one comfortable day for Tuesday. Then the humidity will pick back up as we do look ahead going into the weekend. So here's where we stand right now looking at live radar. You can see those thunderstorms, they are well to our east now at this point. Still some showers lingering, but even that, the coverage really starting to fall off now at this point. So we're not dealing with too much, thankfully, lingering here across the area right now. And as you can see, a lot of what does continue is certainly on the lighter side. Lola joining us this evening, saying good evening, guys. Good evening, Lola.
Good evening.
And saying unstable weather conditions today, was able to dodge the raindrops. Looking forward to clear skies, Lola says. And good to hear you're able to dodge some of that raindrops. And yeah, certainly looking forward to some more sunshine on the way. Austin saying evening to us, saying today was a crazy day. Sunny this morning, rain this evening, and saw 2 bolts of lightning around 6 o'clock. Got to see a bunny and possum this morning as well. Saw some of the wildlife this morning while it was still pretty quiet. They probably went running to hide with some of those heavy downpours later on into the day. Joe saying good evening. Good evening there, Joe. Thanks for joining us on this Monday evening. So there's a look at where we stand. Of course, we saw a lot of those real heavy downpours earlier into the day. Radar estimated rainfall over the last 6 hours. You can see the locations that picked up the most of that. The corridor where we saw some of the heaviest rain, that was into portions of Tuscarawas, Carroll, very sliver there of northwestern Harrison, then into Columbiana County. You can see that axis of where we saw some of the heavier rain. And these are the locations where we did deal with that potential there for some flooding. I did have flash flood warning in effect for the locations into southern Tuscarawas, northwestern Harrison, as well as into a good portion of Carroll County. And that, again, just coincides to where we saw some of those pockets of heavier rain. Radar estimated even over 1.5 inches. While this is over the last 6 hours, a lot of what was radar estimated rain, a lot of it fell within an hour. So we exceeded that about 1.25 inches of our flash flood guidance, and that did yield some flooding concerns there. And it would be surprised if there was even some flooding that occurred into Columbiana County, even though we did not have that warning. Christopher saying, is there any severe weather anytime soon? Likely not, Christopher. That severe risk is falling off for this evening, and we're starting a quiet stretch of weather. So anytime soon, likely not. We'll be watching our weather to be quiet here going into the end of the week, likely towards the weekend, maybe spotting some severe weather chances returning with those thunderstorms, but here near term, not anticipated. Jimmy, good evening. Thanks for joining us, Jimmy, on this Monday evening. So we'll take a broader look at the radar, and looking back further to the west. Rachel, thankfully, not too much to come. Still some severe weather, though, to our east, but thankfully missing us.
It looks like there's a severe thunderstorm warning just west of Hagerstown, but most of this rain has really moved out of our area, just off with some lingering clouds, and that'll really leave us with some fog for tomorrow morning.
Chris is saying how much rain we've seen. A lot of variance across the area with this heavy downpours. You see in some locations saw even over 1.5 inches of rain, while others saw a trace. It was quite a variance of rain across the region with the scattered nature of these showers and thunderstorms. So big differences across across the area. That severe thunderstorm watch was originally in effect until 10 o'clock. We got to write it big on the screen, canceled as no longer in effect. It was canceled pretty earlier into the evening as well. Just not coming to fruition, not spotting likely enough of that sunshine to really help these storms get going. So thankfully, enough cloud cover to keep that severe risk low. Again, we did have the potential for localized flooding as well, but even that risk is starting to fall off now here early on tonight. So the severe thunderstorm watch, again, was in effect until 10, but it's been canceled now across the area. So the severe weather risk has come to an end, and that flooding risk, again, looking very low at this point as well now as we go into the overnight hours. So we jump into Futurecast, and we fast forward. As you can see, not too much remains now as we go into the first half of tonight, maybe something more isolated lingering, but that'll taper off altogether then by the time we get into tomorrow morning. Those lows settling closer to 60, upper 50s, right in that range by tomorrow morning. And we'll spot some quiet conditions then to follow for tomorrow with a mix of sun and clouds. Some of these high resolution models have been maybe hitting out a stray shower, but I think that risk is very low for us. It'd be a slight chance at most. We're looking at mainly dry, if not completely dry conditions for Tuesday. And then we spot clear skies likely for Tuesday night and lots of sunshine then greeting us on Wednesday, just like Futurecast is showing, barely a cloud in sight. A bit warmer for your Wednesday, coming off of highs around the mid 70s tomorrow. We're likely back just in the 80s Wednesday afternoon. So we'll start to trend a bit warmer during this dry stretch as well over the next few days. And as you can see, just barely a cloud in sight. Going to be a quiet stretch of weather and lots more sunshine likely continuing going into Thursday as well. So certainly going to be a nice stretch of weather as we do look ahead. But certainly one thing to watch for tomorrow morning would be some areas of fog.
That's right, Nate. We are seeing, as the storms are moving out, we're seeing some clouds really sticking around, and those dew point and temperature lines are crossing paths. So we'll be seeing a lot of fog for tomorrow morning. If you have the earlier time to get to school by between 6:30 to 7:30 a.m., really, you might want to be careful, especially on the roads, being careful, being cautious. But going into the later morning if you have a later start to work or school, might be jealous, but you'll be doing rather better than those commuting early.
Yeah, and especially for those locations that saw some of that rounds of heavier rain, that can often yield an even more dense fog. So, if you're one of those locations that saw a lot of that heavy rain for this afternoon, evening, there's that possibility, not only some fog, but even possibly some dense fog for tomorrow morning's commute. Christopher saying, can we see 90 degrees this week? Likely not quite. We'll be in the 80s, but probably coming up short of those 90s. And Brian saying, usually rainy weather we've had the past few weeks. Certainly at the end of May, Brian, cool and wet was the end of May. And yeah, we've been seeing some stretches of unsettled weather, and there could be another one in sight. Not here near term, but this weekend into next week could be another stretch of some unsettled weather. So another good stretch here of dry weather to take advantage of, I think, and get some of that yard work done, enjoy the outdoors in general. And also saying we're going to be expecting any air quality alerts tomorrow. So we're going to dive into that in just a minute as we start to talk about any air quality concerns. So our cloud cover here over the next 5 days. We're going to be spotting, nice stretch of weather here once we, even starting tomorrow. It's a mix of sun and clouds and a lot of sunshine Wednesday into Thursday. And we'll start to see an increase in cloud cover Friday. By the weekend is when we're dealing with a lot of cloud cover. And you may be guessing as we start to see that increase in cloud cover, it does coincide with an increase in rain chances. So it's quiet here near term, but we'll spot that chance for showers and thunderstorms returning here as we go into the weekend. So getting back to the question of the air quality, yes, we're still tracking here. Still in place. We're dealing with more of this smoke from Canadian wildfires. We look at the thickness of this, and at times, we can deal with some of that thick smoke into our atmosphere. So that gives that hazy look to the sky, almost a milky look. We can see that in place as we go through tomorrow, and some of this can carry over into Wednesday as well. So it is something we'll watch for, even though we can see a lot of sunshine. May not necessarily be able to be blue skies and sunshine, right? It can still kind of have a milky or hazy look to the sky as we can see that over the next couple of days. Now, getting to the air quality concerns, Austin, that looks to be some reduction in air quality, but thankfully nothing major for tomorrow. So thankfully, not dealing with anticipating a large quantity of that concentration of smoke actually at the surface. Quite a bit aloft, but thankfully not anticipating a large concentration to really drop air quality as we go over the next couple of days at the surface. Brian says, need more sunny days to get hay done. At least a couple coming our way, Brian. But yeah, we'll see we'll see rain chances pick back up in the weekend, but at least getting a few days here, we're likely anticipating some dry conditions returning. Brian saying you need more sunny days to get the hay done. And Christopher saying, are we still in a drought? We ended that drought that we were in last year. A lot of last year. We actually ended that at the end of this past year, into the beginning of this year. It went through our this past winter. We actually saw those drought conditions improve. No longer in that drought as of the earlier part of this year, and it's not trending. I mean, we're trending a bit below normal, but nothing extravagant to where we'd be in drought conditions now here going into our summer months. Water tables have to be back up after the drought Brian's mentioning. And yes, we're seeing that, we're not dealing with the year's deficit in the rain like what we had for last year at this point. What is the record high for today? Christopher is asking. The record high for today. Well, let's find out. The record high for today. Let's see what our record high for today is. Our record high for today is 96 degrees, a toasty 96 set in 1933. That is our record high for today. And how about the record low 35 in 1932? So in a matter of a year, quite a difference from 1932 to 1933 on this day, but whiplash of temperatures in a matter of a year back in the 1930s. So wow, definitely a difference there. 96, the record high for today. That was set in 1933. Yeah, wow, what a difference. Certainly what a difference that was. So as we jump ahead and look into our 9+1 day forecast, looking ahead as we extend further into the week, this is again the start of our nice stretch of weather. Sarah saying good evening, nice weather, sitting on the porch. Good evening there, Sarah. Thanks for tuning in. When is the first day of meteorological summer coming up? Meteorological summer's already began June 1st. You talk about astronomical summer, that's into the summer solstice, June 20th. But no, meteorological summer's already begun. June, July, August, that's meteorological summer. So we're already in it, Christopher, meteorological summer. So our 9+1 day forecast. So there's that nice stretch of weather that we have coming our way, some 80s, and going to be some great weather to get out and enjoy the outdoors, Rachel.
Yeah, enjoy the sunshine while it lasts. This weekend is bringing another round of thunderstorms, and then that'll be on and off for next week. But we're above 80 degrees consistently after tomorrow, but consistently.
This is a nice, a lot of folks I know coming off of the cool end of May have been really wanting these warmer afternoons. And like you mentioned, certainly getting into a stretch of some of these warmer afternoons in place as we look ahead going into next week. And certainly going to be the time now to get out, enjoy the outdoors, take advantage of this dry stretch of weather, get some yard work done. And, I think a lot of Friday can still end up dry, but we can't quite rule out, that thunderstorm shower developing later into the day. But certainly by this weekend, it is less than ideal. We're dealing with those showers and thunderstorms just on and off likely for a lot of the weekend. We can even see this carry over Saturday night as well. So it's not just in the afternoon and evening hours. Obviously, the emphasis is there in the afternoon and evening, and we can see most of that rain fall at that point. But we're even likely dealing with some of this overnight Saturday as well. So certainly take advantage of this dry weather while you can, because it does not look like the best of weekend coming our way. And even into next week, we can get into more of an unsettled pattern. Not a washout any of these days looking ahead, but just dodging more and more rounds of rain by this weekend that will likely carry over into early next week. So thunderstorms are expected Saturday and Sunday. Christopher saying, yes, we're anticipating those showers and thunderstorms this weekend. Great odds that we'll deal with them. They can be more scattered in nature, but they'll be present in our area likely for both days. And again, even for Saturday night, we can see them as well. Next Tuesday and next Thursday. So yes, we can have some showers and thunderstorms around then. It's certainly, there's some uncertainty that far out in the forecast. You start to get 7+ days out. There's uncertainty that far out, but it's certainly possible, yes. Hello there, Suzanne. Hello to you. And Christopher asking, has it snowed in June? Well, we have had before temperatures reach near freezing in June. It's very rare, but it has happened into the early part of June. And I'm sure at one of those points, even though we don't have good snow records that far back, I'm sure that at some point that possibility is there to see a flurry in early June. It's just extremely rare. The better snow records come from Pittsburgh. We don't have real good snow records here for the Wheeling area for our climate site, but I know that we've had those temperatures. We've had some frost into the very early part of June. It's just very rare. So I'm sure that at some point in history that it has happened. Yes, Christopher, at least the very beginning of June. I'm sure it has. Just very rare. How much rain expected Saturday and Sunday? So it's going to be scattered. So much like today, I think can translate to Saturday and Sunday. Some locations can pick up 1-2+ inches of rain. Other locations can stay within a trace to 1/4 of an inch. It's going to be just probably great variance across the area from what we see Saturday into Sunday. So it's going to be hard to pinpoint a specific location in that. With a scattered variety of these showers and thunderstorms, it's hard to pinpoint any given location as to how much they'll see. So they expect quite a bit of a variance. But again, you can see anywhere from light amounts of a trace to 1/4 of an inch or so, upwards of possibly even more than a couple of inches over the 2-day period. If there's a location that's getting more rounds of heavy rain over that 2-day period, that's possible. Can we hit 100 before the end of summer? Can we? Yes. Will we? That's a $1 million question. Yeah. Could we? Yes. But that is a very rare to hit 100+, but it's technically possible. But yeah, that's the $1 million question. Will smoke impact air quality in the area? Suzanne's asking, and it will likely some tomorrow, but thankfully not anticipating a big impact to air quality. Likely just more of a minor reduction to air quality tomorrow. So for most of us, we shouldn't be really impacted. If you're sensitive to that reduction in air quality, maybe not the best day to go out and exert yourself with a lot of exercise, but overall, it shouldn't be a big impact to air quality as we go through tomorrow. Also saying no 100-degree weather, way too hot. It would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, I agree. That's too hot. I'll take the 80s. Maybe we can stop there and not even get to the 90s. How bad are the wildfires in Canada? I know there's many ongoing right now. I can't really speak on how bad they are, but I know there's several ongoing. I'm not too well versed in wildfire climatology in Canada, but so I can't really speak on how bad they are. But I do know there's several ongoing in Canada at this point, which is why we're continuing to see. I wouldn't say climatology. I don't know the history of wildfires. I don't know what the right term would be. Probably not quite climatology, but the history of wildfires in Canada. I'm not too well versed on to compare it to past years or how bad it is for this year. But several ongoing, and that's why we're still continuing to deal with smoke from these wildfires in Canada. This can be an ongoing issue can be dealing with here throughout the week. And thankfully for a lot of this, it's probably more elevated to where it's just more of that hazy, milky look to the sky. But we'll watch for this. At times this past weekend, we noticed it that there to the, you may have noticed this past weekend, we did have a further reduction in air quality than what was anticipated, where it did start to become unhealthy, maybe even smelt that smoke at times this past weekend. So, it's not to say it's not possible, something just to monitor here as we go throughout this week. But in the grand scheme of things in general, we're not anticipating a big reduction here near term. A lot of that should stay more elevated. 75 tomorrow, record high for Tuesday in June. It is not, Christopher. Any severe risk Saturday and Sunday, Suzanne. A little too early to dive into specifics of any impact Saturday and Sunday. We're going to want to wait until Thursday, Friday to really break down that. Just going to be way too much uncertainty at this point to say how high of a risk for severe weather we could have into Saturday and Sunday. But, could there be some potential there? I think so. That is something we'll get back to analyzing more once we get closer to that. Again, Thursday, Friday, leading up into the weekend would be the time to dive into potential impacts that we can have for this weekend. Christopher saying, I like when the temperature is between 68 and 85. do you think, Rachel? Is that a good range, 68 to 85?
That's pretty comfortable.
60, 85?
Especially for outside, being outside,
That's
just
pretty,
relaxing.
you got the 68. I guess it's more in the lower end. It's more comfortable, but then you got to up it to the poolside weather 85. So I'd like that range. Yeah,
I also like it.
yeah, that's a good range. You get the lower end there to enjoy the outdoors, the upper end, and you can be by the poolside. So yeah, we agree with you there, Christopher. A good range in the temperatures. All right, well, thanks so much for tuning into this edition of Nate at 8. A pleasure as always, and thanks for joining us again, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
For this edition of Nate at 8. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You can catch me coming up News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11 for the latest. And as always, for the next edition of Nate at 8 tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. So up until that point, I hope you have a wonderful night. We'll see you on the next edition of Nate at 8.